Tonight, we descend into one of the darkest, most mystifying enigmas to ever haunt Los Angeles. A place where nightmares bleed into reality. A place with a history stained by more than its share of death. At the heart of this story is Elisa Lam, a young traveler whose final days unfolded in the shadows of the infamous Cecil Hotel. What follows is not just a tale of a chilling death, but of a building cursed, it seems, to keep its secrets. I'm your host, Black Mercer, and this is News of Terror. Before we meet Elisa Lam, let's pull back the cracked facade of the Cecil Hotel itself, a behemoth of pain, despair, and unspeakable occurrences. Built in 1924, the Cecil Hotel catered to wealthy businessmen and tourists, opening with marble lobbies and grand aspirations. But the Great Depression turned its surroundings into Skid Row, a neighborhood infamous for homelessness and crime. Aspirations quickly withered, and soon the 14-story, 700-room hotel became a dark magnet attracting the desperate, the destitute, and the dangerous. Suicides by poison, razor, and leaping from upper stories plagued the 1930s and 1940s. In 1947, Elizabeth Short, the Black Dahlia, was seen at the Cecil's bar days before her brutal, unsolved murder. Goldie Osgood, Pigeon Goldie, was raped and murdered in her ransacked room in 1964, her killer never found. The horror spiraled in the latter decades. Serial killer Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, called the Cecil home during his killing spree in the 1980s, returning blood-soaked, raising nary an eyebrow, in the chaos of the time. Another killer, Austrian journalist Jack Unterweger, strangled prostitutes near the hotel during his 1991 stay, echoing Ramirez's legacy. By the 21st century, even after being rebranded as the Stay on Main, the hotel was no less cursed, its past refusing to loosen its grip. It was here Elisa Lam arrived, stepping into the latest and perhaps most chilling chapter of the Cecil's ongoing horror story. Elisa Lam, Lam Ho Yi to her parents, was born in Vancouver to a family of Hong Kong immigrants in 1991. She was creative and intellectually curious, a student at the University of British Columbia who chronicled her passions and struggles online. On her blogspot and later Tumblr, she poured out her experiences with depression, bipolar disorder, and her search, as she quoted Chuck Palahniuk, to avoid wasting her life. Elisa was no stranger to hardship. She had suffered breakdowns, dropped classes, and been hospitalized after refusing her prescribed medications for bipolar disorder, a regimen of bupropion, lamotrigine, quetiapine, dextroamphetamine, and venlafaxine. But she tried, over and again, to put herself back together. Her Tumblr brimmed with vulnerability, self-deprecating humor, and hope. She wrote, "You're always haunted by the idea you're wasting your life." That line would come to ring with an unsettling prophecy. In January 2013, Elisa went on a solo trip along the West Coast. California was her canvas. She meticulously checked in with her worried parents each day from San Diego to Los Angeles. On January 26th, she arrived in LA, booking a room at the infamous Cecil Hotel, unknowing, perhaps, of the place's macabre reputation. She checked into a shared room on the 5th floor, but after just 2 days, her roommates complained of odd behavior. Elisa would leave notes, "Go home, go away," and reportedly demanded a password before letting anyone in. Management swiftly moved her to a private room. Her erratic conduct was not isolated. Days earlier, she'd been escorted out of a taping of Conan for causing a scene, and hotel staff later recalled Elisa shouting, "I'm crazy, but so is LA." She reached out to her parents every day, until January 31st, 2013. On that day, Elisa ventured outside, buying books and gifts at the last bookstore. Store manager Katie Orphan observed nothing amiss. Elisa was lively, very friendly, thoughtfully selecting presents for her family. But that day was the last anyone would see her alive. She was supposed to check out and head north to Santa Cruz, but she vanished without a trace. On February 1, 2013, Elisa's parents reported her missing. Police combed the hotel, dogs searched her room and even the roof, finding no trace. Days passed, flyers went up, but hope dwindled. Then, on February 13, the Los Angeles Police Department made a desperate move. They released the last known sighting of Elisa Lam, a CCTV video from one of the hotel elevators, timestamped January 31st. The footage is unworldly. You see Elisa, slight build, red hoodie, black shorts, stepping swiftly inside. She presses floor after floor, in a pattern that seems without reason. She retreats to the far corner, hiding. She stoops, listening, peering outside as if terrified someone's waiting just out of sight. Her movements are sudden, frantic, and then, disturbing. She makes erratic, ritual-like gestures, fingers arcing through the air as if conjuring something unseen. She steps in and out. The elevator doors remain open, stubborn, as if refusing to carry her away from whatever pursues her. The video ends. She walks out for the last time. The world gaped and gasped. Millions watched and rewatched. Theories mushroomed. Was she fleeing a killer? Hallucinating? Playing a supernatural elevator game? The timestamp was obscured. Some said the video had been doctored. There was, and is, no definitive answer. Only pervasive, skin-crawling dread. "19 days after Elisa vanished, guests began to voice complaints. The showers trickled, water pressure slumped. Some turned on taps to find water black as pitch, with a horrible taste. On February 19, 2013, a maintenance worker climbed to the roof to investigate. There, inside one of 4 massive water tanks that fed the hotel, he saw something floating. The naked, bloated corpse of Elisa Lam. Her clothes, matching those in the elevator video, drifted beside her, sodden and eerily still. Her watch and room key sank in the muck. The horror ran deeper than the tanks. Guests realized, with mounting sickness, that for days, weeks, they had bathed in, brushed their teeth with, and drunk water laced with the decomposing body of a vanished young woman. A full autopsy followed. The findings: Elisa had died by accidental drowning, with her bipolar disorder cited as a significant contributing factor. There were no signs of sexual assault or physical trauma, no evidence of homicide or suicide. Her body bore no marks, though moderate decomposition left certain ambiguities. Subcutaneous blood pooling in the anal area raised questions about sexual assault, but pathologists cited postmortem decomposition as a likely explanation. Her rectum was prolapsed, which, again, might be a result of water decomposition, not violence. What was unequivocal? Elisa's system contained only prescription medications, bupropion, lamotrigine, quetiapine, venlafaxine, in very low concentrations, and traces of over-the-counter drugs like Synatib and ibuprofen. No recreational drugs were detected, but here, the puzzle darkens. The low medication levels suggested Elisa had recently stopped, or drastically reduced, her medication, possibly triggering withdrawal, mania, or psychosis. The coroner, Ed Winter, concluded there was no evidence beyond accidental drowning, but investigators quietly noted, the case is suspicious due to her age and health. For some, that was enough. For others, nothing was settled. The bipolar disorder theory. The official conclusion: Elisa Lam, suffering from unmanaged bipolar disorder, experienced a powerful psychotic episode. Delusions, hallucinations, paranoia. She may have believed she was threatened by an invisible assailant. Seeking escape, she fled up the hotel's fire escape to the roof and entered the water tank, only to drown, her medications missing or at subtherapeutic levels. Her behavior leading up to her death, paranoid notes, disruptive conduct at the Conan taping, switching to a private room, all fit the pattern. The elevator video's erratic behavior, the gesticulations, even the act of removing her clothes, possibly to lighten herself in water, all align with known symptoms of acute mania or psychosis. Foul play and tampering theories. But is that all there is? Web sleuths, amateur detectives, and some experts bristle at the accident label. Could someone else have played a part? The water tanks were heavy, high up, and difficult to access. How did a slight woman lift their lids and climb inside alone? The tank's covers are difficult to close from within, but the maintenance worker insisted the hatch was open when the body was found, explicable if Elisa climbed in herself. The rooftop access was locked and alarmed, yet no staff or guest reported alarms being triggered. However, video investigations revealed the fire escape offered easy, unsupervised access to the roof, which police dogs trailed towards before losing her scent. Police initially said an unknown person's shoe was visible in the elevator video, and online sleuths alleged someone might have edited out portions, possibly to protect an accomplice's identity. The grainy video's timestamp is obscured, with claims that almost a minute was excised. The theory: a hotel guest, staff member, or unknown person guided, chased, or coerced Elisa to the roof and into the tank. The lack of evidence, no trauma, no marks, no signs of a struggle, and the fact her phone and some belongings were never recovered leave conclusions elusive. Supernatural and paranormal theories. Nothing in the Elisa Lam case gripped the public imagination as hard as its connection to the supernatural. The Cecil Hotel's reputation as LA's most haunted lodging fueled speculation. Paranormal TV specials, including Ghost Adventures, dove into the darkness. Mediums and investigators declared the building home to dark entities that could have lured or possessed Elisa. Others claimed Elisa was playing the Korean elevator game, an internet ritual that purportedly opens a gateway to another dimension. In this ritual, one must press a specific series of buttons in an elevator. A setlist echoed by Elisa's frantic button pushing in the footage. Some argue she wasn't alone, that she was interacting with a spirit, or was trapped in a deadly loop by the hotel's curse. The connections only deepened when observers noted eerie overlaps with the 2005 film Dark Water. A mother and child encounter blackened, foul-tasting water, trace it to a rooftop tank, and find the drowned body of a missing girl. Elisa's fate, right down to the malfunctioning elevator, echoes the film's horrors. Other conspiracies: tuberculosis, copycats, and beyond. A tuberculosis test being trialed in LA at the time of Elisa's disappearance was called Lam Elisa, Elisa's name, reversed, feeding wild theories of government cover-ups or biological testing gone wrong. Others accused a death metal musician, Morbid, who had stayed at the hotel, but he proved to be innocent, not present during Elisa's stay. No evidence, only unfounded accusation, as often plagues internet sleuthing. Let's be clear, Elisa's story is inseparable from the Cecil Hotel. Even after a rebrand as Stay on Main, it remained a den of misery. Its proximity to Skid Row, a 50-block downtown area housing thousands of the unhoused, cast a shadow of despair. Skid Row, since the early 20th century, amassed a population of migrant workers, transients, and later, waves of addiction and untreated mental illness, funneled into the area by city policy. The hotel itself became a hotbed for criminal activity: suicides, murders, overdoses, and unsolved crimes, often against the most vulnerable. Police regarded the area as a crime hub. Skid Row was responsible for an outsized proportion of the city's violence. Despite modern renovations and security, CCTV, keycard access, alarms, its infrastructure languished. Fire escapes bypassed alarms. Staff were used to odd conduct and sometimes ignored cries for help. The hotel's culture became one of resignation to the bizarre, the tragic, and the unexplainable. In September 2013, Elisa's parents filed a wrongful death suit against the Cecil Hotel, arguing it failed in its obligation to reasonably keep the premises safe. They claimed accessible water tanks and defective security endangered Elisa and others. But the hotel's defense prevailed. Elisa had entered the roof and the water tank alone, through means not foreseeable to management. The hatch had been opened, no prior incident had occurred. In December 2015, the case was dismissed. Still, the incident raised urgent questions about guest safety, hotel surveillance, and emergency response in places where chaos is often the norm. The internet's reaction was voracious. The release of the elevator video brought amateur detectives, psychics, skeptics, and conspiracy theorists. Elisa's Tumblr posts became rabbit holes of online obsession. Blogs, vlogs, podcasts, and multi-part documentaries mined every detail, every ambiguity, every uncomfortable silence in the facts for content. Crime Scene. The Vanishing at the Cecil Hotel, a Netflix docuseries, chronicled the saga and the community that sprang up around the mystery. Elsewhere, pop culture absorbed and reshaped the narrative, from American Horror Story, Hotel to international music videos, films, novels, and games. But in the midst of it all, real lives, the family, the guests, the haunted staff, remained quietly broken, caught in the blast radius of a viral tragedy. Why does Elisa Lam's ghost still linger in our nightmares? Because her story is the perfect storm. A vulnerable soul lost in a labyrinthine building with a notorious past. A video that shouldn't exist, showing terror we shouldn't see. A death with no clear, comforting explanation. The Cecil Hotel still stands, its facade scrubbed, its windows mostly unlit, a landmark now for affordable housing and, some say, ghosts. Urban explorers still seek room 506, the elevator, the roof. Podcasts continue, TikToks, hashtags, haunted tours. The water tanks are locked, the rooftop now guarded. Still, the sense grows. This isn't the end. In the shadowed halls of the Cecil, the line separating the real from the unreal is paper thin. And tonight, so too is the line separating you, the safe listener, from the impossible terror faced by a young woman, alone, in the dark, pushing buttons in a broken elevator, looking for a way out. You've been watching News of Terror. If you enjoyed this investigation, subscribe, ring the bell and share. And tell us, do you believe the Elisa Lam case was a tragedy, foul play, or something else? Stay vigilant, stay curious, and never, ever trust the elevator that won't close its doors.